Forbes India, CNBC-TV18 present India Inc. on the Move. Smart Manufacturing, powered by Rockwell Automation.
Hello and welcome to India Inc. on the Move Smart Manufacturing Summit by Forbes India and CNBC-TV18 in partnership with Rockwell Automation. The increasing use of digital technologies is a significant factor that will continue to propel the FMCG industry onto higher growth paths in the near future. Due to the increase in demand of personalized products, manufacturing companies need to adapt to personalized manufacturing methodology instead of a mass production methodology. More and more industry players today are actively embracing digital technology to fuel the next phase of growth amidst frenzied competition. The ability to digitize quickly will also be a key differentiator between organizations as they adapt to the changing demands of the times and consumers. They are leveraging technology to address long-standing challenges and take advantage of new opportunities in an evolving market. Right at first time, on time in full, to avoid the absence of stockouts at retailers and the rapid availability of new products are key for FMCG companies. Agile and flexible supply chains is also essential to operate a pipeline of often perishable goods. In addition, they must also ensure the freshness of the products, existence of sufficient market coverage, and constantly improving working capital ratios. Well, these are just some of the key reasons that we are highlighting today, which is driving digital transformation in this sector. To discuss all this and much more, I am joined by Mr. Vishal Kasliwal, Regional Manager, Asia Pacific and India Process Control and Automation at ADM Agro, Mr. Mohd Rizwan Uddin, General Manager, Technical at ABIS, and Mr. Arvind Kakru, Director Sales, Rockwell Automation. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. Arvind, my first question to you is, the advancement in Industry 4.0 and the confluence of disruptive technologies is truly transforming the manufacturing industry. Can you talk about smart manufacturing, IIoT, in the FMCG sector? Machines are becoming more intelligent, they're digitally managed. We are using technologies like AI, ML to better understand our consumers, get closer to them. Can you walk us through and give us your opening comments?
As most of us know, digital has made wide, entry penetration into FMCG sector by way of consumer behavior and marketing to a very large extent. But very important to understand, how IoT is going to help the industry in general and manufacturing, in particular. And it's very important, that we kind of look at some of those data points in terms of, what could be the possibilities that exist. I would say it's key to prioritize opportunities and applications that will help realize early returns, and returns of investments, while creating the right foundation for longer term growth and success. The impact would come from digital innovations and applications and solutions can enable significant improvements in the manufacturing performance and business outcomes in key areas. If I talk about use cases in particular, they could be in specific areas, like say assets and operations. For example, management and control of equipment and systems, with a given operating environment that is very critical. Resources and environment, which is focused on resources utilized and consumed, conducting operations, as well as environmental systems and management. So these are very critical, from just-in-time manufacturing, cost optimizations, and so on and so forth, right? Then next area could be peoples and processes, which could be dealing with the impact of operators, skilled technicians, and support personnel on operation. How they become much more efficient and manage the operations to a very large extent. The obvious one is, of course, materials and supply chain also, because that is focused on information and has the largest impact overall in terms of resources involved in providing the raw materials and components which are required in the production. And finally, I would say enterprise integration, which is focused on linkages and integrations with the information and resources within the enterprise that requires, facility or facilitating the production. Selecting the right use case is very important step in building up the overall plan. and finding the right fit for the larger IIoT strategy. So multiple ways of looking at how this can be driven across the enterprise with smaller manufacturing setups, expanding it to the larger operations. And if I were to kind of summarize in short, so demand-driven production is something where this would be really applicable. Streamlined quality and compliance is one more area where this would be applicable, because that has a huge impact on overall operations, running of the operations, or even from the point of view of security, compliance, and all those kind of things as well. Data and knowledge driven efficiency, and then finally risk management and secure operations.
Mr. Rizwan, could you talk about how you are using IIoT and what are the critical use cases as you see it?
Yeah, it's analytical and forecasting. Analytical is not only about the forecasting, because the forecasting means say one of the key factor or key goal for our industry. But the analytical part journey is start from the data of the production, what you collect from the operation. So need to how we can collect all the data from the system to the central unit. As you know, we are using just S4HANA or SAP is now the software platform is going on. So how we can connect all the data to centralize the system, and we can take the report analysis from day to day or batch to batch, or say it means what the thing is going on the real time. It should be very essential for the analytical. So I just say one thing, IoT is very important for the useful for our industry, but it is used as you have to make how your dashboard and reports you make for your analytical system. As we use as a truck in, truck out system, specific the batch reports, how much material will be consuming. So it is very, very useful for us for this system.
Thank you for sharing that. Vishal, could you talk about traceability? That would be of paramount importance, in the supply chain for the industry. Could you throw some light on it?
See, when we talk about the traceability, it's very important to understand the importance of it. Like when we talk about an FMCG company or the products of an FMCG company. So these are the food products or the ingredients that are directly consumed by the consumers. So we need to keep in mind what the consumers' health, safety, and that aspect in particular. So for an example, if a particular customer is allergic to a particular, let's say peanuts. So if we found out that there are traces found in one of the let's say product that he has consumed, so that we need to understand that what was the root cause of it. So from the finished good to the raw material, we need to understand that how we need all the steps that are involved in between, from let's say the process, people, technology, everything. That thing we need to understand that okay, from where this let's say flow goes. It can happen in other way around also. Like if the product has not left the company, but QA/QC department in the plant understands that okay, something is wrong. So they need to understand from where that happened. So they need to have a back chain. So that traceability is important so as to go to the root cause and eliminate it. This affect the safety of the people, this affect the compliances, and this can have a very cascading effect even on the life of a normal consumer. So for an FMCG plant, the traceability is a very important tool to keep a watch on it and to minimize their losses also.
Arvind, Vishal just highlighted the importance of having traceability for the FMCG industry. What are the factors, companies, enterprises need to keep in mind as they, employ and make sure that their supply chains and their entire, value chain has traceability in it?
Sure. And he went very specific, Vikas, in terms of giving examples, of how traceability is critical, and there's an aspect of safety as well in this, So I'll talk about both, If you actually look at it, product consistency is key to maintaining brand equity or batch to batch and facility to facility kind of consistency, around the whole production overall. Now, local raw material specification would vary from plant to plant, batch to batch, and those kind of things. That can create challenges, overall for the manufacturers, and they must be trying to make sure that each production run compensates for variability and process changes. While producing a product with tight quality standards, you can improve not only the quality but also safety, compliance, and speed to market. When you move from a paper-based solution to a digital solution or a manufacturing execution solution, taking an enterprise-wide approach is very, very critical in these kind of things, which would be a big component, resulting from automation and digital, and which can help in addressing the food safety, operations, or safety across the operations overall, while increasing the productivity as well. So they must also be, the manufacturers I'm talking about, be able to continue to be more proactive, to identify and resolve the issues that lead to product recalls. And that's a big thing, for some of those manufacturing operations, and they're very costly in the short term and also have a very detrimental impact over the long term, by way of brand loyalty, insurance premiums, and so on, right? Now, if we look at traceability overall, I would say, from not just safety of consumers, but also from the strict government regulations, the F&B manufacturers need to find better ways of tracking, tracing, and managing the inventory. So that is very critical. They need a single digital system, in my view, that combines the total traceability and integrated compliance to optimize every aspect of the operations. That means reliable data, inventory, and a lot more things, in terms of how you track your ingredients or supply chain, when it was received, for example, where the location is, and what is the best buy or expiry date. Those kind of things are really critical. So this is really, in my view, a larger industry need overall, especially for the ones that have big repercussions in terms of either contaminations or regulation, or sometimes that can have much wider impact, on the society as such. So very critical for industry and manufacturers to go for these kind of solutions.
Could you also, Arvind, talk about cloud? And how does one or how do companies harness the power of cloud to transform, the way they work?
Typically we have on-prem solutions in a manufacturing environment or in an OT kind of environment. Typically you have control systems, you have digital solutions, and over the past few years, people have gone a little bit more aggressive in terms of going over the cloud. The benefits possibly are, that it is very important in terms of aggregating the data and helping people or the manufacturers draw insights from that data. For example, an enterprise would be able to compare specific sensor inputs, from one location in the world to another. Without the cloud, comparing data across wider areas is much more difficult. So using the cloud also allows for high scalability. When you have hundreds of products going to thousands or millions, and same for the equipment in place, which is like, say, for example, sensors, putting large amounts of data and computational power on each of the sensor would be extremely expensive and energy intensive. So in those cases, the data can be passed on to cloud, from all of these sensors and processed there in aggregate. So that would really help in building connected factories and digital supply chains, which makes it much more easier to drive scale in overall manufacturing operations.
Mohammed, same question to you. How critical is cloud computing? What are the solutions that you use for processes in manufacturing?
The cloud is very essential for the industry also, because we are having a number of data in pan India. We are doing the working, or as Mr. Arvind also says, if the abroad so many industries are running, how we can compare the data and how we can save the data. So cloud is the one of the safest platform to put your data on the system and you can just make a comparison to your, what is the process from the day one to till how the thing is going on, and your data is very secure in the cloud. It is very essential for us.
Cloud is very essential for us. Vishal, accelerating innovation with access to new insights, the ability to collaborate with ease, to try new things quicker at a lower cost has now become a must for FMCG companies, right? So, on one aspect, you have cost efficiencies and, making sure that you constantly improve on the efficiency parameter is a key KPI. But now, increasingly, companies are also trying to measure the new revenue streams, the value that digitization is offering. So, can you tell us that when you adopt digital technology, what are the critical areas of business that you look at to make sure that you are having the impact that you want?
So when we talk about efficiency, everybody talks about efficiencies, KPIs, but the let's say the only one thing is, let's say, constant, that is change. Change always happens. For an industry, uh, they start with a raw material, they end up in a finished good, and that ends up with the customers. So what happens is that there are three key critical parts or critical places or points that we should focus on, that can result into a drastic improvement. That is process, technology, and people. These are the three important buckets that define or that derive those changes to ensure or to limit your efficiencies, to reach it to the maximum level possible, and also to limit your the variabilities on the KPIs. Everything is linked to a baseline, that is variability. So with all the technological improvement we are talking about here, everything talks about technology. Okay, but there are two more important buckets. There is one is the process. The raw material keeps on changing to make that finished good, because the region, when you move from one region to another, the raw material changes. Let me take an example of Coke. It's an FMCG company, right? We always drink Coke. Wherever we go, the taste of Coke is same, no matter what. So what happens? What is done at the background so that the taste of Coke remains the same? That is the technology in the process. That is where the innovation, all this transformation we talk about, helps in that. So if we talk about, let's say, process, technology, and people who derive those changes, they are one of the key buckets here. The key point that we need to address is the variability. That variability, we need to keep it as minimum as possible. So we use human-centered design, we use data performance resiliences analytics, we do data modeling. All this helps us in keeping the variability to a bare minimum. And the moment whatever raw material is there, but if the variability is limited with these three buckets, the final finished good is what is desired, and that is what is the ask at this hour.
Arvind, many of the digital transformations do not play out or pan out as was anticipated. What, according to you, is the reason for that in your experience?
First of all, I would say people would need kind of a plan in place, a digital plan in place, and it would be applicable for different people in a different way. It would vary from one manufacturer to another manufacturer. A lot of people have digital aspirations. At the same point of time, for them to execute on it would require a different kind of investment, different kind of mindset, and also they have to be uh, processes and equipment in place to measure the outcomes, and finally to measure the outcome as in business result overall. That is also very critical for some of those companies. I think where digital transformations fail, there could be multiple touch points or ways that cannot kind of get executed. It could be sometimes even related to people who are possibly not on board. There's not enough awareness in the company about that. There's not enough push coming, or people who are operating it on the ground possibly sometimes don't align with it. They think it would result in loss of jobs and stuff like that. But if it has to be done right, it has to be scaled up gradually, unless people have a very larger experience of executing such kind of projects, overall.
Vishal, can you talk about how you are making sure your company is ready to handle all security threats?
The more we are going digital, it paves more way for any of the external threats, even from internal as well as external. So when we talk about, let's say, ransomware or what do you call it, hacking and disruption in the process and all that part. So definitely there are risks. So there are key things that we need to focus on actually, so as to avoid that or avoid or limit the effect from these things. Cybersecurity depends on we need to. There are 5 pillars. Let's put it that way: identity, protection, detect, respond, and recover, basically. So these 5 pillars derive the cybersecurity wall that we want, so that our data, our let's say all the processes, and the production continues to operate. When we talk about identify basically. So identifying that threat, we build up, let's say, a risk management. We do build up logs, firewalls, so as to identify, let's say, system and data assessment. With this, we analyze our system that where we have risks, and then we plug those risks with in the bucket of protection, where we have firewall protection and all that. So these are some of the basic things that we take about protection, but still the job doesn't end. We need to continue detecting for such results, because the hackers or nowadays people, they find out new ways. They keep on evolving new and newer methods. When a hack is detected, then we need to respond. We need to respond fast, and not only on one plant. Maybe if for an MNC, multinational company, if a threat is detected in one of the location, that can be eminent on other locations as well. So how we can replicate that response a period of time? So we have a playbook on which we act on that part. And when we talk about, let's say, if we are somehow affected by that, then we need to go to the last building block, that is recover. That is where the last line of defense is there, that we recover, we keep data, let's say backups or something, so with which we can recover our production and all that on a very fast pace, so that we do not lose the downtime on that. So cybersecurity is definitely an integral part of the digital transformation journey.
Arvind, given the current workforce challenges, how do you see using technology at scale to help train the workforce?
I think, other than training, there are a lot of other benefits, which are like operator productivity or quality or maintenance. Some of these things are really critical, while you go for, technology helping train the workforce and also getting them aligned much more with the digital world. Otherwise, they could be mutually exclusive, for all because the execution did not happen well, or the information did not go down to the last mile, really well. So if you look at augmented reality, which improves people's cognitive and decision-making skills, by absorbing and projecting digital information in the context of physical reality. And some of these augmented reality-based knowledge capture tools also have to help in capturing and sharing step-by-step instructions to cut down on the training time, increase the operator effectiveness, and also achieve compliance to a very large extent. By using any number of virtual reality or AR tools, the managers can get a very real-time look at any site to ensure that the processes are running as planned. They're compliant with the overall scheme of things, and this is very particularly important, especially in cases where there are bigger disasters, or have larger supply chain disruptions, or there aren't key people who are just familiar with that particular equipment. They aren't available on a particular site, because those instances could be rare. But in those cases, AR offers a very new opportunity for digital collaboration and expert assistance for troubleshooting and maintenance. So really critical in terms of saving money and time, by replacing the need to physically transport the people. And not only that, they also help in enhancing the safety of the workers to a very large extent.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in.
Forbes India, CNBC-TV18 present India Inc. on the Move. Smart manufacturing, powered by Rockwell Automation.